This is a practice video for the Waltz in G major by Carl Maria von Weber. This piece we're going to do in sections. First, just talking a bit about the left hand. For the first 8 measures, it's a standard waltz style accompaniment, and that means you're slurring the first beat into the second beat, which sounds like this, and a lift between beats 2 and 3. Once again, 1, 2, 3. Now if your hand is smaller and you don't want to start with finger 4, you can do finger 5 and do 3 and 1. So some of this fingering is flexible. If it doesn't work for a smaller hand, try to make the fingering better. From the beginning again. That's the first 2 measures. Measures 3 and 4 and then measures 5 and 6, and measures 7 to 8. So it's important just to know that those measures grouped together by 2 work well for practicing. Then we're going to look at the right hand for the same amount of material. First 2 measures, you have a short slur connecting the 8th notes and then landing on a half note. That sounds like this. 1, 2, 3. So you do want a little lift. Don't play like this, all smooth, like this. It's a little bit lazy. They actually want your fingers to lift after the 8th note. So you're going to do, and we also don't want to put a staccato on that second 8th note so that it sounds like this. We just want it to be a graceful lifting off the key with that pinky. So practice that until you get a graceful pinky. And then you can try putting that much together with both hands. And the first thing you will notice is when you lift this, you will want to try to not do connection between this and this. So that's tricky. Slow it down. Try this. Just that bit of coordination takes a lot of work, so be patient. Try the next measure. See how I'm holding this down to connect it to this, even though I lift here. Measure 2. Slow practice is really essential to get that skill working. Both measure 1 and 2 together. Try that on your own. Then I would suggest that you go to measure 5 and 6 because it's very similar. Same type of rhythm, a little bit different notes in arrangement there, but you have this still happening in the left hand. So putting it together. Notice I don't have to play this again, I'm just practicing. Next measure. When you're practicing and changing the music in order to master the skill, don't do every single note. It's not necessary. Just what you need to get your coordination. And then this is measure 6. Try that many times until it feels very natural. Then you can begin by putting everything back together. So 1, 2, 3. And now we're ready for the measures that have a little bit more motion in the right hand. First I would start with measure 3 to 4. This is one big long smooth playing. Cross the thumb under. Oh, this is nice. You should recognize this as a 5-finger pattern starting from G going up to D. That's a measure 4. So that's easy to practice. In fact, you may not need to practice it at all. So just be ready to play it with tucking the thumb under the F sharp. Measure 3. Since that feels easy, let's count the main beats that the left hand would be playing while you play this. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Lift. That's very helpful. Now, this is tricky to put all together, so let's just try something easy. We're going to take out this part of the left hand, and we're only going to play the pinky. So here we are, 2, 3. Try that several times. You just want to get used to moving from here to here. Then we're going to do slowly. And right away you'll see, oh, I have a collision here. This is measure 3. I would suggest that you play with both thumbs because this D is part of this line, and it's also part of this accompaniment. So if you can, just decide how you're going to play so you don't go like this and nobody plays. So practice slowly. And just do that patiently several times. And then you can go on. And put that together. The next group would be measure 7 into measure 8. This is a little bit tricky. You have a big crossing under here that they want you to make smooth. So you're going from here, just turn the thumb under and get right back to do another 5-finger position, this time with a C sharp. Practice just that right hand so you can get that smooth. If it's hard to do, move your wrist up and to the right a little bit and then bring the thumb through. Start that again with both hands with the left hand to there. Finally, maybe just that. And then bringing together. The next 8 bars feature an accompaniment pattern here. Now, if that is too big for a small hand, you might try to do this with your thumb and then do these like this. That's a nice solution. And then you move your hand to here. And if that's too big, you could do that with a thumb. Now, once again, you've got a lot of repeated chords that don't change at all. So maybe we can take those repetitions out and we can just practice. How do I get from this chord in measure 8 to this chord in measure 9? And then I've got something in common here. I've got that D in the middle and switches to that, and then measure 12. Take a moment just to practice only the chords one time each. Measure 9. Here I'm moving. Measure 10. Measure 11. And we stick this in, and then we're back to here for 12. Left hand. The S, F, Z means a little stinger, a little bit extra accent on that note. And then shifting your hand. And then lifting. Probably the trickiest part is learning that fingering for the left hand here in measure 11 and 12. Then slowly just putting it together. We know we've got this chord, so why not just do and then move each hand and then notice I only did the right hand at the beginning of each measure. Practice that version several times. That's so important. After you can do that, try putting in one extra chord. And once once that's mastered, you're going to find putting in the third and final chord each measure is pretty simple. Measure 13 takes us back to the beginning. A little bit different notes here. And then practice this the same way we did measures 7 and 8. Take a look at the finger switch. Don't forget to practice a crescendo all the way to the top. Left hand there would be, and then all together. And that takes you through the first half of the piece.